Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I just want to share with you some exciting developments in my shed. This summer I made some changes to my office which just made it super comfortable and functional in a way that was so incredibly pleasing, and over the weekend I did similar in the shed, which for years now I've been working on and making more and more functional, more and more comfortable to do work in. But there were a couple of final little bits and bobs that I finally addressed, and I figured I would share them with you. So let's take a look. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed if it's possible. Oh, yes it is. And into the shed. And one of the things I want to show you today is actually based around this. The simple fact that now I can, again, one-handed, plug the shed in at the wall. Ooh. There we go. On. The lights are on, and crucially, so is the shop vac. So as it stands, the shed is quite nicely sorted. We have offcuts of wood and materials in drawers there for making. We have assorted tools over there, stuff for my history workshops over there, tools in the bench, paints up top, and some other brackets and hardware over there. We have all manner of bits and saws, and essentially if it goes into a turning machine to make a hole, it's in a box up there on those shelves. My drill press, which stands on this stand that's made out of a scaffolding plank board and then some offcuts of pine that I used when the shed was new, and then 2 racks of mini sorter drawers, which I absolutely love. It's invaluable being able to find precisely the length of screw that you need, but also when you take something apart, put those screws back into an easily findable location. Rivets, nails, and other assorted bits and bobs, glue sticks, wooden dowels, Allen keys, all that sort of stuff. Plus a reference ruler here as well. I glued this up top so I can easily measure the screws and put them back. I should mention just over here my solution for storing clamps, a little L bracket on the ceiling, which itself actually I've used some old bed slats to store various long things in the ceiling. But it's really useful actually just to have a space where the clamps clamp onto and they're out of the way. Also up here, this is where I hang we call it the doctor's bag, but it's basically it's a tool caddy that's ready to go. So when we want to do something in the house, I can get this down, fill it up with the tools that I need from the shed, and it's nice and tidy. It also means that it's easy to put all this stuff back in the shed. Again, one-handed. There we go. Back in the shed when we're done, and the bag just hangs up there out of the way. But what's been a real game changer in here in recent days has been dealing with a bit of a black hole actually. Oh, there's Morty. I think he knows that a dog was barking nearby. Hello, Morty. But it was dealing with a box that was living under here. When I first moved into the shed, I set up this workbench, which incidentally, this metal frame was just behind a shop nearby. I brought it home, gave it a plywood top and a plywood shelf below, and it's a rock solid platform for doing all sorts of work. And also, I should say, I put in a little saw cavity there to collect dust. So if it's raining outside, I can do little sawing projects. But anyway, I set up this bench here, a couple of the shelves, although that wooden storage solution wasn't yet in the shed. And I put here a huge plastic box, a storage box, that was great initially just for putting offcuts of wood and other bits of wood which I thought I might be about to use. But then when I got the drill press, I built the stand for it around that box. I put this piece of wood at a height that was compatible with this, so I can have a long piece of material if I needed to going through here. But everything below was just around and just over the material that was in that box, and that stuff became sort of fixed in place. It was trapped, and I didn't really know what was in there anymore. And 4 years later, 5 years later, it was literally a black hole. It was just collecting wood dust from here when I did any work, and I wasn't using any of the material inside. So I decided to take it out, get rid of it. It was the last truly unknown in this shed. And in doing so, I was able to bring the Hoover, the shop vac, which had been living just here by the door, in underneath and have it be accessible and crucially plugged in over here to the same network as the plug outside. So what it means is when I plug in the shed, the lights come on, everything is charging over there, and the shop vac is ready to be used. And already it's amazing, because what I've been able to do is, if I've made a mess, I can just reach down, grab the hose, which is already set up, and away we go. It's fantastic, and it's actually precisely the way that I sort of imagined a shop vac would be in this space. But previously I had to plug it in separately, so I had the plug running outside to the same outlet as the shed's now plugged into. I had the hose in that space up there, just above that piece of plywood, and it was neat and tidy enough. It was very doable, but every time I wanted to vacuum, I had to open the door if it was raining or not. I had to plug in the vacuum. I had to get the hose and put it into and every one of those steps, every step between you tidying and having made a mess is a step that means that ultimately sometimes you just don't do it. And then I'd have to do big catch-ups and hoover up all the metal and wood dust off the floor, which obviously is a hazard as well for Morty when he comes hopping in to see what I'm doing. So yeah, now I have my work desk, I have my tools nicely sorted, I have the drill press also plugged in as well at all times, because I've been able to rejig some of how these plugs work, and I've got my shop vac plugged in, ready to go at a moment's notice. I'm very pleased, and the only thing left to do really in here is do a little bit of a sort of some of this material behind me, because now there's an opportunity to I suppose rationalize some of these bits and bobs and make them even more readily accessible. So all in all, I am extremely chuffed with how things have shaped up in the shed. It was already almost perfect, but now chef's kiss. So there you have it. My shed is now pretty much perfect, and I'm embracing the beginning of middle age. I just checked on the internet and I am now officially at the beginning of middle age. But frankly, everyone needs a shed. They really do. Having a space that you can go to make a bit of mess, to tinker, to do some experimental projects, whether it be DIY or art, and know that not only can you make a mess, but that mess is easily clean-upable, and that all the materials that you might need for what you're about to embark on, or that you might want to have planned in the future, are readily available, is invaluable. There's a bit of a stereotype that sheds are just for men to hide in, but actually I think men, women, young and old, I mean, after all, I embraced the shed in my mid-30s, in fact early 30s. Sheds are fantastic. And also, as an aside, it's been shown that sheds are really good for your mental health as well. And I think it's because you can put some of that stuff in a compartmentalized way, and also in a nicely ordered way. There's something about a little space that's yours that you can maintain in the chaos of the world that I think is good for all of us. So if you haven't got a shed, and I recognize that certainly when I was renting, that was a massive privilege. I tried to have a shed years ago, a little sort of what was a coal shed that became a bit of a lean-to sort of shed in a rented place. And it was a good attempt. It was a good first attempt. But I do recognize that in that sense, it's a privilege to have the ability to have a shed. But if you can, I would recommend it because, well, it doesn't really declutter you, because I have all sorts of stuff. For example, I have a little workspace there and a craft space in the living room, but it helps you to have specific spaces. And specific spaces are good for your head and for your well-being. I'm sounding a bit shed obsessed now, aren't I? A bit too much of a shed advocate. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully this has been interesting and or entertaining. Until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.